Maybe you've been making 2, 3, 4, 500 grand for the last 2, 3, 4 years in a row. And you start to notice your Stripe account is plateaued. And it's been plateaued for more than a year, maybe more than 2 years. And when you get into the plateau season, especially if you've been beyond 3 years of plateaued revenue, just around somewhere between that 200K and $500,000, I think those individuals really start to lose faith. Doubt starts to creep in, second guessing starts to creep in. And I think, quite honestly, a lot of defeating thoughts and a lot of thoughts that really erode at your confidence really start to take over. And what I mean by that is that if you've been making 300 or 400 or 500 grand a year, 2, 3, 4 years in a row, I can guarantee you this, there is a part of you that is afraid of growing beyond that level because you haven't yet figured out how to grow beyond that level without doing all the work yourself. Episode, we're going to be really talking all about what is required to set you up as an online coach or building a coaching business from $200,000 in annual revenue to $1 million plus. And I want to offer some context before we even get too deep into the conversation, because this entire episode is going to be focused on the individual who is already making $200,000 or more in their business for context. And I know money isn't everything, but as you make more money, you get new problems. And I think it's really important for me to add some context to today's conversation, because if you're making less than $200,000 a year, this episode can definitely be aspirational and can be motivational. But if you're making less than $200,000 a year, do not take everything I say tactically in regards to what you should be focused on doing right now. Because again, as you're growing your business, depending on where you're at in annual revenue, that will dictate and inform what problems are the biggest priority for you to focus on and fix. And it's so important that you are modeling the thought process and implementing tactics and strategies that are most relevant for the season of business that you are in. So I want to just lay that out. If you are making less than 200 grand a year in your coaching business and you're watching this episode, I'm so glad that you're here. And also take notes. This can be a really great way for you to start elevating your mindset, but don't take what I'm saying tactically. Now, if you are making $200,000 or more annually a year in your coaching business, this is for you. If you are making more than $200,000 a year annually in your business, one of the biggest things you probably already have come to realize is that $200,000 really ain't that much money. I know I'm saying that as a very privileged, well-off American, but $200,000 in America annually in revenue in business really isn't that much money. And what I mean by that, and if you're aware of this, is that first and foremost, I'm recording this into 2022 as I'm recording this, going into 2023, like with where we are at in the economy right now, we have to be willing and eager and excited about making more money because of the rate at which inflation is going up, the rate at which cost of normal goods are going up, the way that our political landscape is changing, and depending on what state you live in, how your taxes are being impacted. When I first started in the online space back in 2017, the goal was make $100,000. Once you hit six figures, you've made it. Going into 2023, six figures ain't enough no more. Like six figures still can give you a really beautiful life. Six figures can help you move to the zip code and put your kids in the school district that you want to put them in. Six figures allows you to live a nice, comfortable life. But if you want to live a life of like abundant excess, you want to live a life where you fly in first class, you want to live a life of traveling across the country for the holidays to visit your family because you've moved to a new state. If you want to live a life where you are able to save and also invest and grow your personal net worth beyond just what you're taking home from take-home salary from your business, six figures is not enough. And if you are one of those individuals who's maybe is already starting to experience that $200,000 is really nice, you're very grateful and you're very proud of yourself for getting to that milestone, but you know it is not enough for you to actually build your personal net worth in the way that you know that you desire. It is not enough for you to maybe live in the Californias, in the Seattles, in the New Yorks, and in the states that you really want to live in. It's not enough. And this episode is for you because I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you. As a Black woman who has become a millionaire, becoming a millionaire while Black in America is a whole nother topic of conversation. But I want to really start to help you think about the decisions that you need to be making thinking in your business, how you need to be thinking about operationally structuring your business, especially as we go into 2023, especially with where the economy is going. How do you maintain relevance, reduce perceived risk, and actually maintain the client roster that you have as you continue to grow, while also being able to grow your top line revenue, grow your bottom line profit margin so that you can live the life that you've really always desired. So I know I took a few minutes to calibrate us on context, because context is so important when you are listening to like people online, and also how do you make this relevant for where you're at in business. So if we're good to keep going, I'm glad that you're still here. And if you know this ain't for you, just exit stage left. But let's get into it, okay? When you start to make $200,000, I think between $200 and $500,000 a year in your coaching business, you're at a critical point in time, because you can hustle your way to 200 grand. You can hustle your way to 3. You can hustle your 4. You can hustle your way to 5. Like, you can really hustle your way to $1 million, but it's very, very non-enjoyable. But let's just say you're in that $200,000 to $500,000 annual revenue level in your business right now. You've probably hustled your ass off to get there. You're in one of these buckets. Either you just recently got there quickly and you know that you've been running hard and you know that you've been running fast. You haven't burnt out yet, but you see burnout on the horizon. That might be the caliber that you're in. You got here quickly. You feel like you really didn't even know what happened. You were just running. And then one day you looked up and it was like, oh shit, I did $300,000 last year. Woo! And like, you take a deep breath. It's like running a 5K. It's like you got enough stamina to run those 3 miles, but you really didn't have the preparation. You know, you can't sustain it. You could do it once, but you know it'd be very, very difficult for you to replicate it, for you to do it again. So that's either one boat that you're probably in, where you've gotten to multi 6 figures. You know that you got there, but operationally, you know it'd be very difficult for you to do it again because you didn't run that initial race with the proper preparation. I don't want to say it just happened, because it doesn't just happen. Your effort is what allowed it to happen. Your consistency in your action is what allowed it to happen. But you realize that the operational infrastructure and your personal stamina as a CEO, it'd be damn hard to do it again. That's like one bucket you're in. That was the bucket that I was in. I got to 200, 300 grand quickly. Every single year, my revenue was doubling or tripling in revenue. And it was like, shit, you just running the race so damn hard. You look up one day and it's like, fuck, how did this happen? And it's like, damn, okay, how do I maintain this now that I've gotten here? And then how do I grow without burning myself out? Because I can see that on the horizon. So that's like one bucket you might be in. The other bucket that you might be in is that you have been sailing and coasting at multi 6 figures, but you haven't been able to grow beyond it. Maybe you've been making 2, 3, 4, 500 grand for the last 2, 3, 4 years in a row. And you start to notice your Stripe account is plateaued, and it's been plateaued for more than a year, maybe more than 2 years. And when you get into the plateau season, especially if you've been beyond 3 years of plateaued revenue, somewhere between that 200K and $500,000, I think those individuals really start to lose faith. Doubt starts to creep in. Second guessing starts to creep in. I think, quite honestly, a lot of defeating thoughts and a lot of thoughts that really erode at your confidence really start to take over. And what I mean by that is that if you've been making 300 or 400 or 500 grand a year, 2, 3, 4 years in a row, I can guarantee you this: there is a part of you that is afraid of growing beyond that level because you haven't yet figured out how to grow beyond that level without doing all the work yourself. So there's this fear that kicks in where it's like, okay, I know that I'm capable and I know that I am being called to grow at a larger capacity, but there's this correlation that you hold as a belief in your mind that if I grow beyond $500,000, that means I will sacrifice my health. It means that I will sacrifice my relationship with my partner. It means that I won't be a good mom, or I won't be a good dad. I won't be a good parent, because the only way that you can envision yourself growing is by doing more work yourself, by taking on more clients yourself, by adding more calls to your calendar, by bearing the responsibility alone. It's kind of like the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. If you have not read that book, that's one of like the most legendary books. I read that book when I was like 18 years old, and it changed my entire perspective on life in the world. But it's kind of like Atlas Shrugged, where you feel like the entire load of responsibility is bearing on your shoulders. There's a legit fear that you have that if you grow beyond this point, it just means the weight of your world will just get heavier on you. And that's what I noticed at the two boats that people fall in. They either got to 6 figures kind of quickly, or maybe whatever time pace that it was, but they got there in a way that they hustled their way there. And it's not necessarily sustainable, or they've been there for a few years and there is significant fear on what will be required of you if you do choose to grow beyond it. And I just want us to take a moment to like recognize those two realities, and for you to think about, which bucket are you in? Which bucket are you in? And the reason why I say that is because the rest of this conversation that we have, you probably will feel some intention as I'm talking. You probably will maybe start to notice some emotions or thoughts or beliefs that come up for you. And my invitation to you as we continue having this conversation today is just for you to get curious, for you to pay attention to the beliefs that have been holding you where you are, or pay attention to the beliefs that are preventing you from getting where it is that you want to go. And I just want you to have a level of awareness. I just want you to get curious. As I'm talking, as I'm sharing a perspective with you, as we continue this conversation, if you notice me say something and you immediately start to have some contraction, butt starts to get a little bit clenched, shoulders start to feel tense, like you start to literally grind your teeth and lock your jaw. If you start to notice yourself that you haven't breathed for a second because what I'm saying is maybe scaring you, all I want you to do is just have some awareness and jot it down in a notebook. Jot it down on a piece of paper that you're listening to, open up your notes tab on your phone and just write this down. As you're watching this or listening to this, I want you to just take a deep breath and relax. Just shake it out. And the reason why I'm giving us a moment to pause is because this shit is hard. You have hit a point in your business, if you're making 200, 300, 400 grand a year, where you are in the top 5% of income earners in the world. In the world. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a hug, do a celebratory dance, because you've already accomplished what most people will never see in their lifetime, will never earn in the form of a paycheck. You've done it. And now you have a choice. One of the first things that you have to decide if you want to grow beyond multi-six figures and step into the seven-figure category, you have to make a conscious decision that you actually want it, that you actually want to do the journey, that you actually want to grow beyond this. And that has to be a conscious decision that you make, and that you make 100% for yourself. 100% you have to make that for yourself. And there is no shame if you make the decision to say, you know what? I'm comfortable at 200 to 300 grand. I want to stay here for a while. That is one of the things that I wish in the online industry and the online marketing space that we actually talked about more. Too many coaches are shaming people into wanting to go to seven figures when you, as the business owner, without really giving you the opportunity to make that choice, or even inviting you into having the conversation with yourself about, do I even want to grow? And what pace at which do I desire to grow? I know that if you're listening to this, there's a part of you that wants to make more money, or else you wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't have chosen to listen to this episode. But I think it's important for you to decide for yourself, okay, what is the pace at which that I want to experience that growth? And today, when I think about myself over the next 3 months, over the next 6 months, over the next year, do I want it? And what beliefs are you currently holding right now about what's required of you if you do grow? That is the first question you have got to ask yourself. And it's the first question you really need to be curious about. I really do encourage you to have a notebook for this episode, because these are really important questions you need to be asking yourself as a business owner, as the sole individual who's responsible for the entity that you've created. You are the leader of this organization that you've built. You might look at this as some baby of yours. You might look at this as just some fluke. You may not even see yourself as a CEO. You may not even identify with that title. But one thing that is true, regardless of how you view your business, it is 100% your responsibility. Regardless if you feel comfortable calling yourself a CEO, regardless if you feel comfortable calling yourself a business owner, whatever you do or don't feel, you do hold this responsibility. So the question I want you to write down and for you to think about is, do I want to grow? At what pace do I want to grow? And I want you to ask yourself, what beliefs or assumptions am I making about what's required to grow? Those are 3 really important questions, really important questions. So once you have made the decision to do the journey and be like, okay, Jay, I've decided that I want to grow. Okay, now the rest of this episode is for you. One of the first things that you have to make a decision about after you've made the choice to grow is to decide how you want to grow. You know how to make money now. Now you get to decide, how do I want to make money? That is a privilege that you have earned. I'm going to say that again. That is a privilege that you have earned. Growing a business, learning how to make money is fundamental. Step 1. Non-negotiable. Once you have learned how to make money, you get to a place where your business is in a position where you get to choose how you make money. How do you make money? And what I mean by how you make money, this is when we start to look at operationally in the business. What are these decisions that influence how you make money moving forward? One of the very first decisions that you have to make as a business owner, once you hit that multi-six figure mark, is what is the business model that is best aligned with the problem that you solve, the person that you solve that problem for, the sophistication of the messaging required to attract that lead. What is the business model that is in the best interest of all of those attributes being in alignment for you to grow to that millionaire status? That's the first question we have to ask. What is the right business model that will get you there? And you guys hear me talk about this a lot. I've released episodes on my podcast where we did the whole CEO seasons where we talked about 0 to 100 grand, 100 to 300 grand, 300 grand to $1 million plus, and all the decisions that you really have to make. But one of those very first decisions is, what is the business model that is best aligned with the sophistication of the problem that I solve, the person that I'm solving that problem for, the sophistication of the messaging that is required in my marketing to attract that qualified lead, the sales process that's needed to reduce perceived risk, and the type of container from a delivery perspective that will set my clients up for success to achieve the promise that I sold them into. There has to be congruency and alignment amongst those 5 things. Those 5 things determine what your business model is. And really, one of the big decisions that you have to make is, do you want to go low ticket, high volume, or high ticket, low volume? Pick one. 80% of your revenue is going to be coming from a product offer that's probably $2,000 or $3,000 or less. A $500 digital course, a $1,000 digital course, a $2,000 digital course program. The price point of the program, and I'm saying this is like, where does 80% of your revenue come from? Where does the bulk of the money that you make come from? You're either going to go low ticket, but that means you need high volume, you need a large audience, you need to really have a marketing machine that generates a lot of new leads and not a lot of new eyeballs on your business every single year. Or you're going to choose to go down the high ticket, low volume route, where 80% of your revenue is coming from an offer that is $3,000 or more in the online space, where you are solving a more sophisticated problem, meaning you're solving a more specialized, a more specific problem in your industry for a more sophisticated buyer who's dealing with more specific, nuanced issues, who desires to have a different type of more hands-on or a more in-depth client experience of what traditionally comes with the digital products. You're going to pick one of those model routes. So as you're listening to me saying this, if you're catching this live or you're watching this in the replay, I play with making some decisions in the comments right now. So if you had to think, am I going to go low ticket or am I going to go high ticket? What business model is most congruent, again, with the sophistication of the problem that I'm solving, with the sophistication of the messaging that's required to attract those leads, and the caliber of client that I'm solving that problem for? And the reason why I say once you're at $200,000 or more and you want to get to $1 million, the reason why I'm saying that you need to pick one business model that makes up 80% of your revenue is because of this. You know, earlier I said, get curious about the assumptions that you are making, or get curious about where I say something that is incongruent with what you believe to be true. This is probably one of those beliefs that you need to really iron out. A lot of people think, or the question that comes up is, why can't I do both? Jay, like, why can't I grow to $1 million with a low ticket offer and with a high ticket offer? I'm not saying that you can't. I'm talking about what is the smoothest, simplest, least complicated way for you to get to millionaire status. These are the decisions that you have to make if you want to reduce complexity in your path to getting there. And the reason why I say it's important for you to possibly make that decision at this critical junction of your business time is because the marketing, sales, messaging, client delivery, and operational processes are totally different if you are selling a low ticket digital course versus if you are selling a high ticket program. Fundamentally different. If you think about it, if I'm trying to solve a problem of how to start a coaching business, and let's say I create a $500 digital course that teaches that, it's maybe some 8-week program, pre-recorded modules, right? I'm going to just give you guys an example. Let's say I have, again, a $500 digital course. This is just hypothetically a $500 digital course that's about how to grow a coaching business. Again, it's 8-week digital product, all pre-recorded, right? Let's say I have that offer. Let's say I also have the offer that really does exist, Leverage. Leverage is a 12-month, 5-figure group coaching program that teaches coaches or agency owners how to design a $3,000 to $10,000 curriculum-based group coaching program and add an additional 6 figures of revenue to their business. That's a 12-month program, $15,000, or a $500 digital course on how to build your coaching business. Now, one thing I want to point out here with this example, first of all, you guys can hear the specification of the promise that is being positioned with the offers, right? One is a bit more vague, how to grow a coaching business, versus the other one is ridiculously specific, how to launch, design, deliver a $3,000 to $10,000 curriculum-based group coaching program and add an additional 6 figures of new revenue to your business. So there's a level of specificity with one, and there's one that's a bit more vague. Now, from a capability standpoint, Jerisha knows how to teach both things. I know how to create the offer of both things. But this is what's important for you, again, to think not just as a solopreneur, but to start to think as a CEO who's building a coaching company. It's not just about what you can deliver. It's about what is required of me to attract enough qualified leads to make both of these offers financially sustainable for me. So if I'm trying to market to a beginner business owner selling a $500 digital course, their buying decision criteria is absolutely different than the buying decision process for somebody who's trying to make an investment on a more specialized issue. If I'm selling you, let's say you're listening to this and I'm trying to sell you one of these two options, the questions that you would have to ask to make a buying decision, to decide on a $500 8-week digital course, are totally different forms of psychological consideration than the questions you'd be asking yourself to make the buying decision on the $15,000 12-month group coaching program that's way more specific. Totally different process that the prospect goes through when making a buying decision. So as a business owner, if I was selling both, that means that I have to have two different marketing funnels, two different marketing strategies, two different sales processes, two different forms of delivery. Even though I could teach both offers, I'm creating more operational complexity trying to serve two different levels of sophistication and how the buyer is making a decision. This is one of the most important things that you have to think about as you're growing your business. It's not about what you can do anymore. It's about what's in the best interest of the business. What's in the best interest of what your capacity is. What's in the best interest of your cash flow and your profit margins. That's part of the reason why me getting to $1 million in revenue, I did not sell digital product. I did not sell low ticket. It's not because I can't teach it. It's because I do not want to create confusion for my prospects with my audience about how, like, the level of sophistication I want them to perceive me as. I don't want to create confusion in how they perceive me and how they position me in their mind around the sophistication of the problem that I can solve and the price point they should associate with my brand. When you're making less than $1 million in a year, you're still carving out the impression that you want your prospects to have of you. You do not have a large enough brand yet where you can hold space in people's minds to do both. We're still building that impression. We are still carving out that space in our audience and in our industry's mind. So it's not to say that you can't do it, but I can guarantee you it'll be really fucking hard to do it. And when I look at the business owners who do come and work with me in like my mastermind legacy, if they are selling a low ticket digital course and they're also selling a high ticket offer, when I ask the question is which one is more profitable for you? Which one is easier for you to sell? Which one is easier for you to attract qualified leads for? Which one makes you more money? Which one earns you more profit? 9 times out of 10, they say the high ticket offer. And when I ask, okay, why are you so gung-ho on keeping this digital product that's at $200 that you've had 3 people buy? It is because of fear. Fear that you're going to leave somebody behind. Fear that you're leaving money on the table. Fear because you don't believe in your own excellence enough to claim it publicly as the only thing that people can hire you for. It's usually because of fear. You don't believe that you're a teacher, so you feel terrified leading a group program. You don't see yourself as a legitimate business, so you keep discounting and downgrading the type of problems that you solve. That's honestly what it boils down to a lot of the time, is fear. And again, this goes back to what I said initially. You have to decide what the business model is. There's no right or wrong model. You just need to pick one. When you pick one and go all in on it for 2 or 3 years, it's the fastest, most profitable way for you to grow, because you can focus developing all of your skill sets around the strategies that are best aligned with that model versus trying to learn both. You end up trying to learn both and you end up sabotaging everything because you just don't have the capacity. It's not that you don't have the capability, but we have to design the business model and make the choices for the business that are best aligned with what your capacity is. What do you have capacity to execute and implement consistently, month over month, year over year, until your capacity grows? So that's one of the very first decisions you have to make, is what is the business model that is most aligned with the sophistication of the problem that you solve, the person that you solve it for, and the price point that is aligned with that value to be delivered. What level of sophistication do I want to be speaking at in my marketing and in my messaging? Do I want to only be able and primarily be talking to the beginner, solving entry-level problems, meeting them at where they are at psychologically in their buying decision process, in their urgency, in their limiting beliefs? Do I want my messaging to be focused there, or do I want my messaging to be focused on a more sophisticated buyer trying to solve a more sophisticated problem? You have to make that decision, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that has to create the content every day, every week to pull those clients in. So where do you want to play? Where do you want to spend the most of your time? And what's best aligned with the sophistication of the problem that you're solving, the person that you're solving it for, and the price point that needs to be valued at? That's one of the biggest decisions you have to make to grow beyond 200 grand, is how are you going to get there? The second biggest decision that you have to make to grow beyond $200,000 a year is, what is your owner's intent? This really needs to be the first decision that you make, but owner's intent is really important. Please write that down. Owner's intent. Your owner's intent is really the intentionality behind why you are choosing to grow your business. And this is beyond the fluffy bullshit of, I'm growing because I'm trying to fulfill my purpose. Let's keep it 100. designer, you're fucking growing because you want to make more money. Like, I want us to be honest. You're growing because you want to serve more people. You want to work with the most aligned clients possible. You want to work with the most qualified people. You want to work with clients that you love talking to on a regular basis. You want to work with clients who want to get results, and you want to help them get results. And by helping your clients get results, you want to be financially compensated for it. That is probably why you're building your business. And part of the reason why you want to make more money so that you can give yourself more options, more choice. I want to have the choice to send my kids to private school versus public. I want to have the choice to move to that zip code that has the lower crime rate and the better school districts versus choosing to live in the zip code that I can afford. I want to have the choice on the type of car that I purchase and drive on a day-to-day basis. I want to have the choice to go on vacation when I want to go on vacation without being able to take 2 weeks off to do that. Like, the reason why a lot of us want to make more money is because of choice. We want to be able to have the finances to expand our options on what we can choose to do about how we live our life, where we live our life, and who we live within our life. You have to know what your owner's intent is. And if you're listening to this, and if you've been consuming my content for any bit of time, your owner's intent is probably building your personal net worth by doing great work in the world that's at the highest quality and the highest caliber possible. And I don't know if that resonates with you or not, but we just have to call it what it is. If you do not know what your owner's intent is, you have to know why you're choosing to grow. You have to know why. You have to know why you're choosing to grow. And you have to be honest with yourself about what that decision is. Like, you might be choosing to grow purely for the intent of like adding value and just doing work in the world. Because I have a group of clients, they don't need the money in their business because they have a supportive spouse. Maybe they're trust fund kids. Maybe they came into some inheritance. Usually it's because their partner makes more money and their partner is the one that is financially responsible for the day-to-day bills and the day-to-day expenses. That's great. So what is your owner's intent? Why do you want to build a business that's sole purpose is to facilitate opportunities for transactions to take place? You got to know why you want to make money. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that you want to make money. There's nothing wrong with saying, even though my partner is the one primarily responsible for our day-to-day expenses, I still want to have financial independence for myself. I want to be an example to my daughter and to my son about what a working woman can look like. Or you might be on the flip side where you're like, I want to make more money because I want to expand my personal net worth. I want to have extra money to be able to invest outside of my business. I want to make more money because whatever it is, you have to know what your owner's intent is. I'm talking about money because I know if you're listening to this, you probably care about money, but you may feel uncomfortable admitting it. So I just want us to just rip that Band-Aid off. Like, let's just talk about it. For me, I love making money because of the choices and options that it gives me. I want to have the option to buy a property. I want to have the option to buy the car that I want to drive. I want to have the option to choose what seat I buy on a flight, not because of what I can afford, but because of what my preferences are. I want to be able to have the option to pay for what my preferences are. That is a huge reason why I love making money. And I love making money because I love the ripple effect of the work that I do. I love seeing the lives changed of the people that I get to work with. I love helping and being a part of their blessing coming to pass, of their prayers being answered. Because I think that the more money that we make, the more people that we can hire, the more that we can circulate cash flow in this world. And every time that we invest in somebody else, we are literally investing into the kingdom, because prayers are answered through people. And when you live in a world that's a capitalistic society, part of that way of exchanging value is by currency, by paying somebody for their skill sets and paying somebody for the value that they provide. So part of my ability to make more money allows me to work with more people, to serve more people, to hire more people, and allow them to do their gifts. Every time I pay the Tesla guy that comes to the house to check on my car, I'm investing in what he desired to do. Every time I pay for my hairstylist to do my hair, I'm investing in her dream, in her business. Every time I get to hire a team member on my team, I'm investing in their dream job for them to be able to work at a place that they love. Having money allows me to be able to do that. And also the reason why I choose to build a business is because of the lives I get to support with changing and the clients that I get to work with. We don't solve simple problems. Like, my business solves complicated problems for my clients. But when those clients figure out how to solve those complicated problems, their life changes. And then we're able to have this ripple effect. So the second most important thing you have to do is ask yourself, what is my owner's intent? Why am I choosing to grow my business? What do I really care about? And come up with 2 or 3 values that can now start to serve as your true north. What are the values that you hold near and dear to your heart as to why you're choosing to grow your business? You got to know your why. You have to know what your owner's intent is. If your owner's intent is to protect profit, if your owner's intent is to work with the highest caliber leads, if your owner's intent is to design a life that gives you leverage and flexibility, now those values start to become the filter for how you make decisions operationally in the business. So my 3 value sets: protecting profit, working with the highest quality clients, and leverage time. I want leverage time. I want the leverage flexibility with my calendar. Now, when you have to ask yourself, going back to even the initial question, which business model should I do? Which business model allows you to protect your profit? Which business model allows you to work with the highest caliber clients? And which business model allows you to have leverage with your time? Your owner's intent influences now how you make every operational decision in the business. So that's the second most important thing you have to decide if you want to grow beyond 200 grand. The first thing that you have to decide is, do you really want this? Do you want to grow? Do you actually want to grow? And what is the pace and the speed at which you want to experience that growth? Second decision you have to make: what is the business model that is most aligned with the sophistication of the messaging that I want to talk about on a day-to-day basis? And that's really what it boils down to. Like your business model, because if you're unwilling to create the content, you're going to have a difficult time attracting the leads to even funnel and fuel through your business model. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what is the sophistication of the problem and the sophistication of the buyer that I want 80% of my marketing, my messaging content to be focused around? And that influences what business model you build, that influences the price point that you sell at, that influences who you sell to, that influences the type of container that you design. The third decision you have to make is, what is your owner's intent? What are those 2 or 3 values that you hold near and dear to your heart that will become the filter that you process through every time you make an operational decision in the business? 1, 2, and 3, y'all. And you guys have probably not heard coaches or other entrepreneurs talk about it in this way. Most people, when they do an episode on how to grow to $1 million, what do they focus on? How to get more leads, how to build out your marketing department, how to convert more sales. That is literally one sliver of the equation, because how you choose to go, like knowing what type of leads are most important for your business, knowing what types of clients you want to actually be working with, starts with you making these higher level decisions. What is my owner's intent? What is the business model that's most aligned? And do I even want to grow? And what is the pace at which I want to experience that growth? If you don't make those decisions, you don't know what strategy to implement. And this is what ends up happening a lot of the times. You end up, and this has happened to me before, and this is how I knew that I needed to have this level of governance to help me with my decision making, is earlier in my business, I would just start to invest in marketing strategies when I hadn't yet decided what direction am I trying to take my business? And then you end up spending $5,000, $10,000, $30,000 on these coaching programs. And you're like, fuck, I don't want to grow with paid ads. I don't want to sell a $500 digital course. I don't want to build a team of 14 full-time employees to manage my coaches and manage my marketing department, because it fundamentally goes against the values of what my owner's intent is. So like, you don't have to, but my recommendation from what I know to be true is, like, you have to make these higher level decisions so that can influence the type of investments and where you choose to focus your energy and time on the day-to-day business, who you hire, what strategies you deploy, what tactics and techniques you need to master, because you need to know those higher arching choices so that can become your filter for how you make those decisions. So those are the 3 biggest things. And if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, fuck, Jerisha didn't, whew. If you just like that, if you just like a whew, okay. I really hope that it pulled you out of the weeds and help you see the valley, to see the horizon. Because a lot of the time, sometimes as business owners, we can get so stuck in the day-to-day, which is why we haven't had the capacity or given ourselves a space to make these bigger choices. We can be in the rat race of jumping from marketing strategy to marketing strategy to marketing strategy, jumping from sales funnel to sales funnel to sales funnel, but you're looking at it from a turtle's eye view. When in actuality, once you cross multi-6 figures, you need every now and again, you have to lift your neck up and look at a giraffe eye view. If a giraffe is standing next to a turtle, the perspective is totally different. Totally different. As you grow beyond 200 grand a year in business, you have got to have a giraffe's eye view, and you need to have a process for yourself and for your business to regularly pull you back up from a giraffe's eye view to see the entire valley, to see the entire horizon. Because if you are making decisions from a turtle's eye view, no wonder you are feeling burnt out. No wonder you are feeling defeated, because the pace at which a turtle can move is slow as fuck. And also the perspective that a turtle has is so short-sighted and limited. You have to have a process in place and regularly be able to pull yourself up and look at your business from a giraffe's eye wide view, to see everything that's going on, to double check in with yourself on why am I still doing what I'm doing? Where is it that I'm trying to grow? Because those decisions then influence all the smaller decisions that you make operationally with your offers, with your pricing, with your team structure, with the system structure, with everything else. So I really hope this gave you some perspective. I really hope this was insightful. Those are 3 of the biggest decisions you have to make if you want to grow beyond 200 grand a year. And those are the biggest decisions I had to make because that became my internal governance that allowed me and influenced every other decision that I made. And it also helped me keep my blinders on. It helped me make sure that I was chasing a definition of success that was my own and made sure that I was chasing a definition of success that was my own. Because it's so easy for us to adopt the definition of success of whatever coach, whatever leader, whatever mentor, whoever has the loudest voice online in the marketing. And then you'll look up one day and you realize that I have been chasing somebody else's definition of success. This is not even what I wanted for myself. I didn't even pray for this. I'm chasing somebody else's blessing. It's not even mine because I never wanted it. It was never my heart's desire. So if you're a coach or if you're an agency owner that has to focus a lot on client delivery and you're at that 200, 300, 400, 500 $1 million level, and you know that you want to grow with a simple business model, you want to grow with a simplified offer structure, you want to grow with profit in mind, protecting your profit, if you want to grow in a way that really honors your values, that encourages you to have regular check-in with yourself about these types of decisions, about how to operationally structure your marketing and your sales with these things in mind, I encourage you to apply to join my mastermind. I'm hosting a mastermind going into 2023. This will be our 3rd year that we've been running it. And it's really all about this, what we just talked about. How do you grow when you are honoring your owner's intent? How do you grow when you want to design a business model that is focusing on honoring your pace? How do you grow when leverage is a number 1 priority for you? You don't want to be on 15 or 20 calls a week, whether that's with your team or with your clients. You want to grow in a way that honors and protects your profit. This business is a vehicle. It is not who you are. And you know that you want to grow your coaching business. You want to increase your coaching capacity. You know that's for you. If you're making more than 200 grand a year, I invite you. All you have to do is just send me the direct message with the word legacy, and I will follow up with you on how you can apply. I will help you get a better understanding of where you're at in your business so that this is the space that's for you for next year. But just send me a direct message on Instagram with the word legacy. If you're making more than 200 grand a year, if you've made the decision that you know that you want to grow your coaching business, you know that you want to grow your agency that focuses on client delivery, and you want to do it in a way that allows you to increase your coaching capacity, that allows you to increase the lifetime value of the clients that you work with, I'd love to chat with you. So just send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Jerisha Hawk. Send me a DM with the word legacy, and I will follow up with you with more information. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening to today's episode, and I'll talk to y'all later. If you liked the video you just watched, click this one. You might like it even more. Go ahead, check it out.